what's going on in the world today ain't exactly clear. All I know is I can't believe anything that you hear. Vigilant Alaskan, bringing you truth in the last frontier.
All right, we are here with John Coghill. He is running for borough mayor. John, how are we doing this afternoon?
Excellent. So it's a Sunday afternoon, and every Sunday we have all the family over. We have a meeting. So if you get to hear noise, that's my kids making noise. So
Good,
I'm glad to
man.
speak to you. So the question often asked is, why are you running for mayor?
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably a couple of reasons. Um, the first one was some people came to me who were business leaders in town and asked me to run because of my record of being business friendly, standing up for Alaska, but being even handed, being able to work across the aisle, uh, but steady handed. I think that's what they're really looking for, a conservative, steady handed, pro business guy. And that's been pretty much the hallmark of my public life, partly because I grew up in business. I noticed like to have a small business. My wife and I ran a small business, and I know what it's like to work with a borough. So in my 22 years in the legislature, I worked with them on many issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a little bit about what the needs are in the community. Uh, and so what I had to think about it, and the thing that convinced me was what I know about what's going on in Alaska, what I know that what's going on in our borough, what I know about the people and our need to grow. Uh, I really said, okay, I can do that. And there was a 3-person race. Now it was a 4-person race actually. You had me, you had Aaron Lajinsky, you had Robert Shields, and you had uh, Hopkins, Grier Hopkins,
Right.
who I consider a friend, by the way. So,
Yeah.
but he's more liberal than me.
No, yeah.
And
No.
Robert Shields is what he calls an economic environmentalist. Very different approach than I have.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Savannah Fletcher, who was in it at that time. And so uh, it was going to be 2 and 2, and then it became 3.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and I had to really talk long and hard about it. He knew the details within the borough probably better than I did. But as far as vision and personality and depth of history, he was a little short. He's a
Right.
good guy. I
Yeah.
have no problem.
Yeah.
But some people were concerned that he may not be able to beat uh, Grier Hopkins. So I had to think about that. And then, uh, so him and I had some conversations about it. And we just said, okay, look, let's make our case to the public here, and then we'll see where we stand. And that we decided that way back in March.
Yeah.
And through March, April, May, and then into June, we said, okay, both of us have made our case. What do you think? Uh, I was willing at that point to flip a coin because he had been doing a pretty good job of campaigning, and so had I. But he wasn't too enamored with that idea. So I said, well, let's just take a poll. So him and I divvied up a poll money. We played 50-50,
Mm-hmm.
and I came out ahead of it. And the agreement was whoever came out ahead, the other one would drop out.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
No,
he'd have come out ahead, so that way you have a conservative and a liberal really making a case.
Well, I really
Those are the
commend you
two.
guys for doing that too. Because, I mean, this whole ranked choice thing, that's how we end up with Mary Peltola representing the state, despite the fact that like close to 60% of the state voted for a Republican. And,
Yeah.
it's a clever little trick they've pulled to manage to do that. And so, like I said, I commend you guys a lot for it. And I really like seeing that kind of thing too, where, like with the RFK Trump thing, obviously it's a national level, but where there's kind of an alliance formed, but with a deal made. Like, hey, I'll give you my support, but it comes with this condition that I need, some concessions from you. I think that's really what's needed
The
more. We need a lot
concession
more
in
of
this
that.
particular issue, him and I agreed. What we would concede is the community is more worth it than
Mm.
our personal goal,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was both of us actually. And we felt like the conservative approach had to be taken.
Yeah.
Part of it was with the backdrop of that vote on the tax cap earlier on in the spring,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's May 7th vote kind of made us understand that the conservatives want uh, kind of a tight lid on your government. Uh,
Yeah, people just can't afford any
right.
more taxes. I mean, bottom
Sure.
line, you know.
And sometimes the liberals, they want to do great things. I'll not take that away from them, but
Yeah.
they wanted to do it from the taxpayers, and our taxpayer
Hmm.
base in the Fairbanks Armstrong Borough is
Can't take
narrow.
it.
It's property owners.
Yeah, yeah.
So to be fair, we get a lot of property tax from the pipeline and from the mining. That helps us significantly. And
I
when
see.
either one of those starts rolling up, we're going to have to rethink our whole system anyway. But at this
Yeah.
point, we everything is inflated, right? Everything.
Mm,
By the way, the borough feels the same pressure, and that's what they were
mm,
talking about. Our
yeah.
school numbers are going down. The cost of facilities has gone up. Our population is diminishing, and those are
Well,
all solutions that on
yeah.
the table have to be dealt with.
So,
So I agreed.
oh, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
So I agreed that I would run. And when him and I made that agreement, and it turned out that I became the lead, he turned around to support me.
Hmm.
Now I'm going to lean on him for some of the details that
Yeah.
he knows very well.
Yeah.
I would be a fool if I didn't
Right.
take his advice
And
on things.
yeah.
So, but it is true that the more liberal guy is sounding more conservative in the campaign. It's been my experience that on the liberal side, you have the ends justify the means. So whatever they say can be modified later on.
Right.
It's my
Yeah.
experience that the conservatives really tell where they stand, and that's what they stand on. And they get beat up when they don't follow through.
Yeah. And you know,
That's not necessarily
that's
true.
I think too, even with Robert, you know, like he's big on his economic stuff, and it's like, well, you know, again, there's a third party candidate. It's a long shot. So I will encourage him to try to. I really think those things too are going to be things that are done more culturally than politically. And really, that's where a lot of our solutions are going to lie. Like, people want a politician to come in and fix everything. That's just not the way it's going to happen. So,
Well, plus that he's talking about billions of dollars, which
right.
if you get a track, God bless him. But
Mm,
show me the people, show me the investment, and
yeah.
he thinks
And
policy can change those. Now,
mm,
there are some things that he says that are okay, but at
mm,
this point, here's how I assess his portrayal. His feet quite aren't on the ground.
mm,
A lot of grandiose stuff, and he thinks that you can take your environmental technology that we have today and take high-speed rail, insert it into Fairbanks. But what he's missing is our whole borough only has 95,000, 98,000 people. We
mm.
don't have the capacity to have a high-speed rail. We don't have people to do it.
Yeah, yeah. We don't
Even
have the
if
need.
we
There's
could,
not there's
we
not the
talk
need
about
for it.
that.
It's not the need for it quite.
And plus that, you know why people come to Fairbanks? People come to Fairbanks because they like the wilderness. They want to go out on their own. They like the elbow room.
Yeah,
Don't mess with me. Let me have my car, my motorcycle, my bike. Let me have my ski trail. Uh,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
and that is the beauty of the Fairbanks area.
yeah. And then, you know, again, I think more and more people are becoming a little more hip to this whole climate agenda. And I say that as somebody who I went to Ecotech Institute in Denver. Like, I was all about, you know, saving the environment, green everything. But when you see what these people are actually proposing, like this climate action plan, I don't know where you stand on that, but
Yeah,
it has
I
nothing
don't
to
think
do
we
with
should go back down that
no,
road.
no,
First of all,
no. It has nothing to do with it's not going to change anything. It's just going to cripple our energy
well,
production.
here's what it would change. This is what it would change. It would stress us so economically
Yeah,
for little gain, high cost.
no
And
gain, in
so
my opinion.
most of us want to be good stewards of the land.
Yeah,
Most of us don't want to breathe dirty air, have dirty water,
absolutely.
have burned out trees. We don't like that.
Right,
In fact, it's too bad we let so much forest burn as it is.
right.
Uh, but we do want to do those things, but we also have to do it in an economic order
Yeah,
where people can actually live here
mhm,
and grow here. So
yeah,
I'm okay with solar panels and heat pumps and things
Yeah,
like that. Let's do it.
yeah. I
But it has
mean,
to be done economically.
right, right. And the thing is, like, let's not do it at the expense of fossil fuel and oil, the backbone of our entire economy. You know, I mean, what people,
But
greenies don't understand is that the driver of human civilization is access to energy. And so when you start limiting
let's
that,
just say, take it one scenario. Let's say we shut down the Healy coal plant and we live off the hydro coming off of Bradley Lake down there, and we try to make it up with wind and solar. The
Healy's,
cost would be so high, it would
yeah,
literally
yeah.
drive people out of this
Yeah, I was
town.
gonna say Healy's not gonna be there, and that's the thing too with all of these green, whether it's wind, solar, whatever, none of it's viable without massive government subsidy. You know, it's not, and
That,
it doesn't
that's
produce
point
enough
one.
energy, and it's too expensive, and it's not even better for the environment. There was just a thing that came out that the carbon footprint of all these things, when you consider the mining and then the
Yeah, right.
inability to dispose of it, it's actually not better for the environment. So, yeah,
And you surrender to China or places where they don't have the economic or standards for the
Yeah,
environment.
the regular, and
So
that's the other
we're
part of
we're enriching them. We're shutting down our own mines, enriching them, and they're doing either slave labor or
mhm.
at least I know they're not taking care of the environment the way we
Oh,
in America want to.
no, and
So
yeah, America's actually one of the least polluting countries, I believe, and the sad thing
it
about
is.
like it doesn't matter what we do if China and India aren't on board, it's all for not, you know.
I will tell you this. Good on America for proposing the standard, but bad on America if you impoverish yourself to do it. Then
Oh,
you become absolutely nil in the argument. You
hmm.
have detuned all of your argument by creating an economy that cannot subsist.
Yeah.
So it's good that we want to have the standard, but you don't want to impoverish yourself while you're doing it.
And that's yeah, and that's the other thing, again, all of the government over regulation from government has proven is it creates monopolies, and we already have that problem here in Alaska of especially when it comes to energy and communications is these few companies come in and then they
Well, when
gouge the
when we became a
Alaskans
state,
for
yeah, when we became a state, we agreed that the subservice rights would belong to the people in common. That has created probably more of a kind of a socialist atmosphere.
hmm,
We have to overcome that in many, many ways. But the reality is, if we hadn't have done that, our mining, our oil, our timber would probably have been taken by other people, and we would have had nothing. So,
interesting.
and that was happening in the turn of the 19th century, or at the turn of the 20th century. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
So we had the robber barons that had
Right.
the coal, and they had the copper, and they had our fish, and they had our timber, and they were returning nothing to us. So
Hmm.
this gave us a chance to be a state that was in charge of our environment, our economy,
Um,
without having to tax ourselves into oblivion.
hmm,
And we just didn't have the population. When I was born here, 1950, there
hmm,
was just about 300,000 people in Alaska, period.
right. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
700. It's not that big a growth if you think about it. In the
No.
50
Yeah.
years, 75 years that I've been alive, uh, we're only
Dublin says.
750,000 people.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, like everywhere is not destined to grow like California. There's not as many people that actually want to live here. It's not for everybody, and I like it that way personally.
a lot of people do.
Yeah,
And
a lot
the
of people
only thing we have to do
do.
is we have to keep the door open for other people. And you have to be
Mm.
a little bit of an adventurer to live in
Mm.
Alaska.
Oh yeah,
I'm
for
an
sure.
adventurer.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
why do I want to run for mayor? I'll give you three reasons I want to run for mayor. I
Mm.
want to keep the government orderly. Uh, that means you have to keep it prioritized, right?
It's a tall
If
order
you
at this
can't do
point.
everything, you do what you do well. We do our parks and recreation. We take care of our schools. We take care of our plating and planning. We
Mm.
take the trash out. We got our garbage. So we have just those things, and we want to do them well. Let's not get out
Mhm.
into the climate action stuff and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's we're supposed to take care of our air and
We
water. That's true.
we
And
can't
so
afford it.
there's a difference between taking care of what you have or examining what you have to do in the world
Mm.
to make it. And by the way,
Mm.
with our 90,000 people here, have no none impact on anything global anywhere
Yeah.
outside of
Hey,
our
oh
personality,
man, you
outside of
say that again for the people in the back.
yeah.
No,
I mean,
seriously, our my
we're not
wood
even a
stove
good
is
suburb
not gonna
of a
lower
large
the.
town.
Yeah.
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 So
So
what we
that's
can do
those
though
are
is we
great
can
points.
manage what we have well.
Mm,
That's what we can
yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
the other thing is, and then you have a small government right here. You have a second class borough,
Hmm.
which has designated powers from our state legislature,
Yeah.
and you take those powers and you say we're not going to go outside those bounds.
Right.
So you keep it functional under those rules. I said orderly. That means you have a
Mhm.
priority. And
Yeah.
then if you're going to make it function, it has to function for the people.
Right.
That
Right.
means, and we talked about the
Uh,
legal thing earlier offline.
yeah.
That means you help the people make it in this town instead of penalize them for being in this town. And
Yeah.
our taxing of nonprofits has become kind of one of the political questions as we're going forward. So if I get elected, obviously I'm going to say, why are we doing it this way?
Mm,
And if the legal team says we were told we had to do it that way, I'm going to say, let's find out why we have to do that or let's turn it. And I think
yeah.
we can turn it. I've examined both the law and the process. And I think what we've done is we either believed a lie or we forwarded a lie. And
Mm,
I'm going to give the legal team the benefit of the doubt by talking to them.
hmm.
And if not, then I'm going to argue with them. And
Right.
so, and what that means is you have your government functioning to serve its people, the people
Right.
that pay the property taxes here.
Yeah.
You have to function for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
The whole idea is government isn't here to be served, it's here to serve. That's the
Absolutely.
deal.
Yeah.
And
And
that's my philosophy.
that's so because I think okay, so this gets into a couple of the other questions that I wanted to ask. So
Sure.
you know, one of the big issues is the education budget. And so I would, and in my opinion, again, this is something that is not, it's not the amount of money that's the issue. It's the allocation at the state level and at the borough and city level. So I would ask you how you would, think the best way to go about addressing that is, and then kind of tied into that, where would you make budget cuts? Because I think that's just something that has to be done across the board. Like we cannot spend beyond our means, and that's all we do. And so, and again, it's just it's for silly reasons too. So yeah, go ahead and give me your
So
thoughts on
good
that.
news is we haven't really spent beyond our needs because we've had that tax cut. And the people in May 7 said, keep the tax cut because you have to self-discipline yourself to not spend outside of your means. But it is true, we're right up to the edge. Part of the reason is you asked me about education. Our population of kids in our school has gone down,
Yeah,
uh, probably 12% or something like that, which is a lot of people when you consider how much money per student the state allocates.
yeah.
So that means we have to consolidate some of our buildings.
Mhm.
But we also have to go to the state and say the charter of the state, the Constitution, has you settled in as the primary source of education funding.
Mhm.
Community should put in because it's a community. And so we put in $58 million, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Uh, but I'll tell you what, people are not satisfied right now because our students are not reading to the level they should. They're not computing to
yeah.
the level they should. So there are things that need to improve.
Right.
So if and when I become mayor, I'll ask those questions because you have the borough who helps fund it, but you
Hmm.
also have the school board who makes a policy for it.
Right.
And
And
they
then
run the schools, we own the property. So we
yeah.
fund them up to whatever level we can, and it's the
Mhm.
state requirement,
Yeah.
and probably sometimes even more. And I'm okay with that, but you have to have our students rising to the level of a higher level. Now, to
Mhm.
be nice to our school district, is higher than many places in Alaska.
Yeah.
So there's good stuff, and they've made progress. So you
Right.
have to fan the flame of that progress. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But our
Right.
students, our teachers, they need to be respected, but they need to be respected because it's a learning process.
Yeah.
Let's do the learning. And
Right.
if we need more teachers, I'm game. If we need to pay them more, I'm game. But I tell you what, the NEA is almost antithetical to education because it's more about their bargaining power than it is
Right.
about their education growth, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. They
there's
were
a lot of good teachers in the
the,
NEA. I am not
of
painting
course.
them.
Of course.
It's just like there's a lot of
The
good union members. I don't hate union members, but
uh,
their leftist philosophy.
the leadership has been I mean they were the teachers unions and their leadership again. My dad's a teacher. My family is I have a lot of teachers in my family. It's nothing against them, but the leadership were some of the true villains of the COVID nightmare,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
advocating for
absolutely.
them to keep schools closed far longer than was necessary. And, again, it's really made me start to, I mean, I'm a laborer, so I got nothing
Yeah.
against unions necessarily. Like, it got me
No,
a
no.
raise
The
every
right
year,
to
but,
have
but
collective bargaining.
I think that they,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm starting to kind of will reassess my position because I feel like they have sort of changed into something that is not really what their original
If you really
purpose was.
if you
So,
really want to protect the workers, let's see them do excellent work.
mm,
And so if you have a laborer, you want to make sure that the work that they're doing has high quality. If
mm,
you're an operator, same thing. If you're a teamster, same thing.
right,
If you're a teacher and stuff isn't going right, you're not getting according to our
mm,
measurements, we're falling low in the whole American standard metric, right?
yeah.
So is it the teachers or is it the leadership? I don't know the answer to that. There are many good teachers, I'll tell you
It's
that.
a complicated
Everything's right.
question, no doubt. I do
So
look forward to a potential Trump administration where they've come out and said that the Department of Education will be on the chopping block because I don't think it's something that can be done top down because especially like here in Alaska, we have unique challenges that don't apply to any other place in the country.
every community,
So yeah, so
every community has a different.
yeah, yeah.
So what you do as a mayor, you become the cheerleader for your students, uh, and you go to the state to say the funding. Here's what we can do,
Mm,
and then you become the cheerleader to your board of education, saying we've got to do better. We've got to do. You
mm,
don't talk bad about people. You just say we have to improve the outcome. We just have to.
mm,
And the way you do that, you just say, here's where I think our funding should go, and here's how high I think it could go based on our student allocation.
mm.
Uh, but you don't talk bad about the people you live with. You just don't.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And that's
so
one
that's the
something I've
that's the
always,
even-handedness that I can bring to the table.
yeah, and that's one thing I've always felt like, again, I've always tried to give our local politicians the benefit of the doubt, whereas the people in DC, they get no benefit of any doubt from me because,
Yeah,
again, the people in our local government live here, like they know most of them, and I believe they all mean well.
yeah,
So I would, like,
yeah.
but
I'll tell you the
so,
third. I'll tell you the third thing.
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I have a
The
question. You do
third
your third thing,
thing
and
that I
I'll
look.
ask my question.
I'll put this on the table, and then you get to your
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
The third thing I wanted to say functional, orderly, but it has to be attractive. If I want to have somebody like you come into town, find a wife, grow kids, have a family, the place has to do three things. It has to be attractive in your school. That
Mm,
means that I want people to come into town that feel good about our school system. It has to be attractive to the eye. In other words, let's clean up our yards wherever we have to. And then it has to be attractive to business people. It can't be overly
mm,
taxed, and it has to
mm,
be a good business environment. And you have to encourage business and industry to grow here. And we
right.
have a lot of people that say industry shan't grow here. I want my retirement. I'm going to live here. I don't want any more people here. But we have to grow. Otherwise, we're fooling
Yeah,
ourselves. And
yeah.
so, attractive to business, attractive to the eye, and attractive to our people that want to come into town. So, you had a question.
Yeah, and I will just say to agree with you that the outmigration is an issue that I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
people address, starting with Governor Dunleavy and his State of the State address, and that was something that I hadn't really thought a lot about, but obviously I'm aware of, and again I've left and I came back, but a lot of people don't, and yeah,
So there's a lot of
we
people
do,
that come into town, and there's a lot of people leaving. The trouble is
well,
right now, the balance tips. There's
yeah.
more people leaving than coming, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so we
and the people
need
that
to attract
come are entering are trying to take positions in government. So we have people that are not from Alaska deciding a lot. And
man.
there was something you said earlier about the robber barons and how they came in. What we did kind of prevented them from coming in. But just it made me think immediately of our permanent fund board and who was it, the Robenstein lady or whatever her name was. She was
Yeah,
Cargill. That's I mean that's as
yeah,
robber baron as it gets. So,
yeah,
like I said, and
exactly.
I think
Yeah,
that's one of the main problems I've kind of identified in the upper
yeah,
echelons of our political classes. It's a bunch of people who don't live here
yeah.
dictating what happens. So my question, oh God, I forgot it. Let's see. We're talking about education and yeah. So you have talked in the past about one of the ways that you would address this out migration issue is really building up the community and kind of trying to revitalize that and bring kind of bring the community together because we do kind of have this issue of whether it's the newcomers from the military or the university, people that aren't from here, and so kind of our community can become a little disjointed if again we have all these people leaving and so it's kind of being replaced with people that are not from here, maybe not tied into the community. So how would you go about like bringing everyone
So
together?
it's costly to live here. It's just,
Mm,
it is. The energy costs, obviously, we want to keep working on those. Uh, it's just costly to live here. But you know what? When people come here and they fall in love with it, then they're willing to do whatever it takes to live here. I
mm,
want to make sure that we don't mess that up by overtaxing, uh, by not allowing services to grow, by helping our schools become better.
mm,
And then if an industry wants to set up shop in town here, the first answer by environmentalists generally is no, 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 no new roads. Don't cut a tree down. And
mm,
I understand that up to a degree, but if you don't grow something or mine something, you're not bringing new money into town.
mm.
Now, the military brings money in, but it's all tax money, right? Because you have
Mm.
taxpayers paying for the military, and the military comes.
Right,
It's
right,
it's new money to us, but it's not new money. It's not produced money. But I can
right.
tell you what, we get to be the guardians for the United States of this geography called the North Pacific and
Mm,
the Arctic. And
mm,
so we are in the best geography to be the host for America to the military. I like that, and I like that that money comes into our town. But
mm.
remember, it's money that other taxpayers have paid.
Yeah,
The university, the state has taken some of its rich money from mining. And remember, when that university was made, it was the Mining and Agricultural University.
yeah.
It was meant to study those things. So our engineers, our mining industry all got the benefit of our university. So
Hmm.
let's keep it that way. While we study
Yeah.
the Arctic, while we study our permafrost, while we give our business degrees, let's remember our mining. Let's remember our agriculture. Food security in Alaska is always going to be an issue. So you have
Yeah.
to grow where you can
Mm,
and use their natural resources. So the university is an important part of bringing
mm.
money and business opportunity into town. It's a good incubator.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the state pays for it. The
Mm,
people that work there pay good property taxes. They bring value. Our airport, our tourists, all bring good money to our town.
mm,
But it's our mining and our minerals and our place in geography
yeah.
that bring money to this town. Let's treat them well. And so when they decide to bring a family here, make it so that when they love it, that it's possible for them to stay here. They'll
Yeah.
grow small businesses like bookstores, like flower shops, like
Mm,
engine tuners. Just name it. They bring
yeah.
nurses, they bring doctors.
Yeah.
So all those service industries come around when people have the opportunity to grow a business. And
Absolutely.
uh, and it's tough here, but the
Yeah.
people who do it, it's rewarding. When something is tough, it's rewarding.
Oh yeah.
And as long as we don't beat
For
each
sure.
other up, so that's why I say government needs to be orderly so that they can expect what government's going to do, and that is it's not going to run them over, but it's going to serve them. And as a mayor, part of my job is to be the welcoming committee saying, we're going to be friendly to you business wise,
Mm,
school wise. We'll help you do ski trails and stuff like that because I want you to live and enjoy the place. And then let's become world class wherever we are. I think our university has the world class already, but the potential is even higher yet.
Yeah.
The military brings a world-class view. The tourists come from all over the world here. So we're
Mm.
really kind of an international place. So, but there are things that we could do better
Yeah. Yeah.
and we can grow. And we're only less than 100,000 people. There are things that we can do that all other communities can't do because we can be nimble. You
Right.
get a community of 1 million people, it's not quite as nimble.
That's
And
it.
so
That's a lot of people. We
you
don't have
work with
enough
your
doing those
cities.
things.
You got North Pole, you got Fairbanks,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you got the North Star Borough.
Right.
Those mayors, wherever they work together, they should create a powerhouse together.
Right.
And we have a good national delegation. The senators, I wish Patola gets outvoted. I'm okay with Nick Vegas getting in there. I think that would be good. But I'll
That's
tell you
almost
this,
better. Just awful.
that is our lifeline to the federal
Yeah.
government. And
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
surrounded by federal property.
Hmm.
So our existence on working with them or standing up to them is very important. So
Yeah.
the little
That's.
town like this, with our combined unity in our nimble population, we should be able to stand up to the feds when it's right, work
Mm,
with them when it's best for our interest.
yeah.
And we're a transportation hub. If you think about it,
Mm,
the Richardson Highway, who looks out for that?
yeah.
Fairbanks.
Yeah.
The Dalton Highway, who looks out for that? Fairbanks.
I mean, we're the last
The
stop
George Park
before you.
Highway,
We're the last stop of civilization before you go up north.
you want to go up the circle? Who
Yeah.
watches out for that property? The people in Fairbanks, they know about it. The northern region has to deal with it.
Yeah.
I think a mayor should be a drumbeater for what we do outside of the rest of Alaska
Right.
for the transportation system. That's air, that's road, and that's water. And
Right.
so, mayor, you get to be kind of the spokesman for it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I know it well enough to be able to be a good spokesman.
One thing, I was having a conversation with Mayor Ward, and one of the things that impressed me that he was telling me that he had managed to do, and if Fairbanks is one of the few cities probably in the whole country that doesn't have any debt, that when it came to funding
Yeah.
different projects, he made sure that we had the money to pay for it. We weren't taking out loans or doing these different bond agreements or whatever, and so, is that something you would look to extend or modify, or what are your thoughts on that?
Small enough community, we don't have to go into debt.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of debt. We can work our way out of it.
Mm.
But I think if we do it right, we can stay out of debt.
Mm.
And yeah, it remains that we have to stay frugal. That's all. That's why
Yeah.
I say you do what you do well and don't do too much.
Right,
The
right.
stuff that gets outside of your kind of lane,
Hmm.
uh, that'll trap you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, for the state, work with the other cities,
Mm.
do what you can, and make sure that when it's your responsibility, it is done as good as it can be done without going into debt.
Okay.
I've lived debt free pretty much all my life,
Yeah.
and so
What, what do you think will become of, or what would you like to see done with the Polaris building footprint down there?
that's
Or do
really a
you?
problem. But as a
Yeah.
borough, I, I'm kind of glad to see it come down because it just became unusable.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a footprint right down there next to
Mhm.
the courthouse, right
Yeah.
downtown. Uh,
Right.
and I don't have a fancy idea or anything like that. I don't know that turning that into a park is really the best idea. Really,
Mm.
something that is on the taxpayer's roll probably be better, a business opportunity.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, for sure. I think
but
commercial is absolutely the way to go. My two
yeah,
cents, it should become it should be a part music venue in there, right on the river, right there. I think that would be awesome.
you know what? So yeah, because people come to our town looking for
Something to
what is
do.
the old street and what's going on new in Alaska.
Yeah,
And yeah, no, I'm game. So a lot of it is whatever attracts more business into our
mhm,
town is going to be good for me.
right. Yeah,
And it
I've long said that
right? Is it going to
what's
make it better or worse?
yeah, and you can have multiple things there. It's such a, like I said, it's such a big footprint. And if you go with something that's as tall as it was, you certainly have a lot of options. So yeah, cool. Well, we're getting close to the end here, so I think I know we're getting down to the wire. Any events you got coming up? Any last minute messages you want to get out to everybody? Like I said, October 1st is
The May.
the day.
Election day is October 1. And I'll tell you what, the people who come out to vote, they are the ones that make the decision who gets to be their mayor and their council members and their assembly members.
Mhm.
So if you don't get out to vote, uh, then what you do is you yield to those who are going to vote. The unions have a strong presence in this town. There's no doubt about it. They know how to get out the vote. Uh, and so quite often they're the ones that do it. And I'll tell you why, because public unions want a strong bargaining position. And by the way, the taxpayers pay for whatever is bargained for.
Hmm.
They don't get to be in on the bargaining. They elect people to bargain for them. So if you are elected and your loyalty is to the union, guess where you're going? The unions then get to run the town instead of the elected officials. So I'm just
Hmm.
saying, if you want to get up to vote, those are the options. Those who want to keep it frugal and independent, or those who want it kind of functioning for the union, and you just get whatever they have to put on your plate. So I know that's
Mhm.
pejorative to the unions, but it's a true that the public union leadership feel that way about it.
Yeah,
And
well,
so
like I
don't
said,
get
I've benefited from it, and I don't agree with it. You know, I've gotten a raise every year, and I don't know that I needed it. Like, and
and
all
okay
the
with getting raises, but remember some of the benefits that public union members get, the guy in the business can't give to his employees,
yeah,
and they have to live in the same
yeah,
town.
right,
They have to
right,
pay your wages.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's
they
a
need to be
complicated.
respected.
It's a can of worms we won't get into.
Yeah,
Cool.
but it's important to understand that.
Yeah, yeah. Cool,
I'm
John.
a,
Well, hey, I
a union.
appreciate your
I'm just
time, and hey, we can definitely do it again. Door's always open. You got anything you want to get out to people? Just let me know.
after the 1st of October, we'll see who is sitting at the seat,
Yeah.
and I'll be glad to do it if I get it. And if I don't, there's a lot of things I can do in the community.
All right. Cool. Well,
Thank you.
thank you for your
Appreciate it.
time, John. And yeah, we'll wish you the best of luck come October 1st. Take care.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Bye.